to keep the momentum going, we're going to go to our panel discussion, which is very important for our youth to be involved in. I'm going to introduce the speakers one by one, so as I introduce you, please come and have a seat, and then they'll have 10 minutes each, and then you guys will have your chance to dialogue with them and debate with them. And the topic is integration without assimilation, being American and Somali. So I know this is very important to all the youth that's here, and they'll love to join and discuss this and debate this. So let's start things rolling. So the first speaker is Mr. Abukar Sanei, who is from Ohio. MashaAllah, he memorized the Quran by the age of 12 in Mogadishu. He finished high school in Cairo, Egypt, got his BA in International Economics and Business from Ohio State University, and is currently preparing now for law school. He is a Muslim American Society MAS Columbus chapter in the capacity of Director and Treasurer, so a very warm welcome to Mr. Abukar. Our next speaker in the panel is Ms. Shadiyo Ali, who's been very, very lively in our debate today, so we appreciate her. She is from Maine, and she is joining us from Maine and is a student activist and is a student at the University of Maine. Currently, she is studying pre-med with a minor in Spanish, so a warm welcome for Ms. Shadiyo. And last but not least is Mr. Husein Anshur, who is from Pennsylvania, an engineer, has a master's degree in engineering management this past May. Before that, Husein had a BS in industrial engineering degree, both degrees from the University of Texas. Husein is currently working for Boeing Corporation as an engineer for their V-22 program in Philadelphia. So there you go, Mr. Husein. So what I'll do is I will start, and then each person will have 10 minutes. So they'll come up to the podium, they'll talk, and then the next person, and then in 30 minutes, we'll start with questions, and then it'll be a lively debate. So why don't we start with Mr. Abukar? You have the floor, and we'll stick to the time. 10 minutes, please. 10 minutes.
Be enough?
You gotta make it enough.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Abukar Sanei, and I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm very glad to be here tonight and speak about this issue. And I have been very interested in this issue for a long time ago also. We are always aware of that. We are Somali, and at the same time also we are Americans. And I began with my writing that I did in this topic. The condition of being Americans is a choice that we made for ourselves. We are the ones who chose to be Americans. And that's a fact that we can underline to begin with. And the cause of this was also, we have become refugees before this. We have become refugees around the world due to the destruction that we made to our country, as we are in now also today. We are still in that destruction and chaos in our home country. And now we see that we have the largest refugee camp in the world. And the Dab and the Gahley and Ifo. You can find these Somalis are refugees in these areas. So having this fact in mind, however, we have two terms that we are discussing here tonight. And the number one is the term of assimilation. Assimilation and the term of integration. And I thought that since we are speaking to intellectual people, we have to define these two terms. We have to have it, what they are and how we can analyze them. And culturally speaking, the word assimilation or the term assimilation is defined as a process by which a person or persons acquire the social and psychological norms or aspects of the people, of the group, of the dominant group that they're living in. The people who are the majority people that they're living with. And if you say this, if you take this definition in literally, you find that this means that you have to act the way that the majority group acts. You have to think the way that the majority group thinks. That's the way that it should be defined. So that's, if you take that definition, we can rule out that this assimilation is not the case. Because, as you know, we are coming from another background. We're coming from a religious perspective that's totally different from the norm that we're living in. The majority role or the majority group that we are living in, we are totally different in terms of these aspects that we are coming with from background, whether that is the lifestyle of our forefathers, the lifestyle, or maybe the way that we live as Muslims in our faith. So that's really will take us away a little bit from that kind of majority group that we are living in. So, and we are part of this, American society, even though we are different from the majority people in the U.S. Whether they are Jewish, whether they are Christians, whether they are atheists, we are different from them. And the only thing that we are different is that we are coming from a culture and a background that's different from the majority society. So, and at the same time, also there are common values. There are common values that we share also with the majority people. And by these values that I'm talking about now also, I mean the universal values, the things that we share commonly. And that these common values, we are coming to also to the term of integration. So we are sharing with these values, common values that we share, and these values will also bring us together as people who are working together for the same purpose. And that's where the integration comes. And if I can give you an example is, we can be active in the community that we're living in. We can participate in the political life that the country that we live in, whether we are living in Canada or whether in the US. We have to be active politically, and this is really the common, and be active in the community, be active in the social life that we're living in without violating our values that we are bringing back from home. So, and now we're coming to the term of integration. The term integration also can be defined, and these terms are culturally related issues. They are cultural stuff, a cultural point of view. And this term of integration is defined as the free association of people from different racial and ethnic background. So people who are coming together despite the fact that they are not the same in terms of ethnic issues and in terms of background issues. As you said, that we are coming from Somali, and we are coming from also in terms of faith, we are coming from Islamic tradition. So that's really what makes us different a little bit. But at the same time, we are in the general public, and as we are part of the society at large, we have to participate and we have to integrate in the society by keeping our values. So, and in this case, integration will encourage us to interact between the two different groups that without one crossing the border of the other. We don't have to violate the other people's also rights and values, but at the same time also keeping our values and our ethics and belief system that we're coming from. If I can give you an example, in this analysis, you can now see that American boy, Somali American boy or Somali American girl can go to a Super Bowl game without drinking a beer, without eating a pork hot dog. So that's really how you can. Super Bowl is a big game that we all know that it's really everybody can go there, and especially those people who grew up here. Super Bowl is a big game that you always go. But at the same time, you are not participating in drinking beer or wine or having hot dog pork. So that's really the example that you can use integration, integrating in the society, participating in the activity that they do while keeping your own tradition and own values. And also now I need to also share with you, there's a study that's done by a professor called Werner Soloris from Harvard here in Boston. He says that he came up with the notion that he said that in the issue of ethnicity, there is what he calls peoplehood and otherness. Peoplehood and otherness. And this, he says, and the article that he wrote, he said, the article is entitled that the theory of American ethnicity. The theory of American ethnicity. He tries to make a point where he writes, in ethnicity, there is a double sense of peoplehood and otherness. Otherness is a concept that applies to every group, including the Somali Americans now. We are also the other group who are among, or who is among the majority group, or maybe the people. In this case, we can call the American people, which are the native, the people that are not immigrants, or maybe even you can call that America is a country of immigrants. So except those people who are the natives, who have been here for a long time and who are the owners of this land. So, and now if we say that we are Somali Americans, the concept of the term of Somaliness is attached to ourselves. We are Somali. It's attached to us, as it's in fact, it will never be deleted from us. So it will stay with us. If you are a naturalized American citizen, Somalianness is read in your passport. So it's there. So you are someone who was born in Somalia. And also, if you're born here as someone who's, native, born here, that also, and from a parent of Somali background, also you are known as someone who has background of Somali region. So you are Somali either way. So however, by integrating in the system that you live in, you have the power also to make a change, in politics that you don't agree with. And also in this case, it is necessary that as individuals who are also educated in this country, you have to also participate in the system and integrate in the system while you can politically and have a voice to even advocate for the policies that you think are interest for both the US or Canada or and US and Canada and Somalia. So now we are talking about North America and Canada and Somalia, and Canada and the US included. So and in that case, you can advocate, and you can also deny the issue of now that Sister Fawzia was talking about the issue of dual policy. You can see that this is not the right approach that we can take from our country, and this is really not an issue that will produce something that's tangible in Somalia for the long run. So in that case, you can argue these issues. You can take it to the local or maybe federal or state level of the politicians, and you can argue that it's not productive. In conclusion, I need to say also there is nothing wrong with being American. We are American by choice, and also we are Somali by origin at the same time. In fact, they complement one another. So if you are Somali and American, these two concepts are not denying each other, but they complement one another. The concept of dual citizenship is or has been a practice that every community who has been here before us has gone through or is going through also. Like the Chinese Americans that we know that who came here during the California gold rush. They were here in the 1800s and they were struggling and they were trying to integrate in the society while keeping their own heritage. They had established, as we know now, any major city in the US, you see that Chinatown. So now we as Somalis to establish Mogadishu town or maybe Galkaya town or maybe Kismaya town. That's really what we should do as Somalis in this country, as we are part of the society while keeping our own heritage and culture. Also, as we know, also there's another group that's called the Irish Americans, and as you know, the IRA is very well known. Military arm in Ireland, and you have the people who are here, Irish American, they are supporting. They are subhanallah, and this is amazing that sometimes you find that the UK government is calling this army or the IRA as a terrorist group. At the same time, you may find some people who are from Irish in this country who are supporting this group because they think that they have issue for them. They are struggling for their cause in Ireland. And at the same time, I'm not saying that today, I'm not encouraging you to support the people who are now in Somalia, who are now, doing the bad thing in Somalia, but a sense that we are talking about is a sense of nationhood or nationalism, or the concept of having that kind of connection with your own country, as you see the Irish people, Irish Americans who are here, who have also connection with their back home. So you see that. So that nationalism that I talked about also, we see now, example that we can take also from here is that now we know former Prime Minister Abdullahi Farmajo, and we know that Omar Abdel Al Sarmarke from America, from the US and from Canada. So you can see the example that being American or being Canadian doesn't mean that you are not Somali anymore. So you are Somali, and at the same time you are American, and at the same time you are Canadian. So you can do something good for your own country, the country that you came from originally. Finally, I want to conclude, and I apologize for this. I rushed a little bit when I speak. So I want to conclude that and offer my advice to myself and to you that we should maintain our original roots, practice our own culture at home and outside, and at the same time be productive US or Canadian citizens wherever we are. Let us not forget that we are who we are, and the homeland that we all belong to, which is Somalia, that country that we destroyed, subhanAllah, and amazingly, we destroyed by ourselves, and we have to rebuild it again. The forefathers that we know, those people who laid down the foundation of Somalia, had a sense of nationalism and unity in heart and in practice. And that's why they built Somalia in 1960s. And now it's time for us as youth people to come together and establish this concept of nationalism and unity in our hearts once again, and plan to rebuild our home country while maximizing the benefit of being Americans or Canadians. So I have some recommendations also finally that I took some points or ideas from. And this is one of the authors that I was talking about, The Theory of American Ethnicity by Werner Solaris from Harvard. You can go back that also, ethnic issues. And also there is a great book that's called Orientalism by Edward Said. I encourage you to read that also about the issue of ethnicity and how struggle takes place in the society that we are living in. And also there is another book that's written by Diana Abu Jabir. She's from Arab American community. And her book is titled Crescent. That's really also a good book that you can relate to who you are now and where you are now as someone who's living in the diaspora away from his or her own home country. There's another book that also I recommend to you if you can read, which is called also, it's entitled Across 100 Mountains. It's from by Rainy Grande. It talks about the Aztec community in the empire that we know in the Aztec people in Mexico area. And also there is another last recommendation book that I read and I read before, which is also called The Song of the Hummingbird. The Song of the Hummingbird by Garcilia Limon from Mexico. And she's talking about the struggle of the Mexican community in this country and how they survive day to day their life. So we can take also lessons from them. And as we are new in this, communities or maybe in the diaspora, we can learn more from these people who are struggled before us, and we can take lessons from them. So that's what I conclude. And if you have any questions, I will answer. Inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. I hope I didn't pass the 10 minutes.
Thank you so much. A warm welcome. Thank you. So our next speaker is Ms. Shadiyo.
Hi, how is everyone doing today? I'll try not to talk too much. Basically, I took this topic in the perspective of being young Somali person, and I talk about culturally barriers, meaning that being in a new society, being in a new country, no matter where you are, that is always hard not to lose that fear that you're gonna lose your identity and your roots, where you're from. And if you're a young person like me, is as you grow up in life and you have your own future, and there's always that barrier that you may not know as much about your culture, about your roots as you used to. Basically, first, in our culture, being a Muslim, our culture is basically based on religion, and people got confused between those two, the difference between culture and religion. Even though traditionally we wear, the way we dress, the way we behave is basically the teaching of the Quran and Hadith. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes there's traditions that has nothing to do with our Quran and our culture, but based on our culture that our ancestors used to do, that we were passed on generation from generations. First, let me define what culture is so that we have a basic understanding. From a dictionary definition, culture is the quality in person or society that arises from concern what's regarded as excellent in art, meaning music, costumes, and all those things. And manners, color, pursuits, the way we behave one to another, meaning the way we treat our elderly. And being an American, that can be different. And at the same time, that can be similar. So our parents, this is again from youth's perspective, is that our parents are still have that connection, strong connection in back home. They have that still idea that they're afraid that because we're here, that we're gonna lose our identity still. And they don't have understanding that maybe there's a way to change our principles, that not in a bad way, but at the same time in a good way. Meaning that, for example, I'm taking 3 different stories that I encounter One being personally me, and two from a friend close to mine. First is that there was a friend of mine. She's actually getting married today. And it was actually arranged marriage. Again, this is culturally, not other religion. This is culturally. And she found out that she was getting married a week ago. And she had this plan that she's going to go to college. She actually got a full scholarship to University of Farmington at Maine. And she cannot do that right now because obviously her parents give her a choice whether to either disobey them and not have their blessing, or she will do exactly as they say and obviously get married. And that's what she did. Obviously, we were brought up in a manner of way that we respect our parents no matter what, that they're always right. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, that the reason why we're here, the reason why we left back home is because to have a peaceful security and have a better life for ourselves. And that's why our parents are here for us. That's why they brought us here for in the first place. And it's time for them to understand, and it's time for them to let us go and let us be independent and let us be in school and plan our future at the same time, while they don't just stay on the negative side. That they need to understand that things change, that we're not in Somalia anymore. There's so many opportunities that your children can partake that is good for them, that maybe you can learn from it at the same time too. And they need to learn from the boundaries where the principals set a boundary for themselves, among themselves, children, between children and parents, that, okay, you can go as far as this. At the same time, make sure you know who you are. Make sure that you don't lose yourself. Like make sure you don't lose yourself. Make sure just because you are in a new country doesn't mean you should forget what you went through. Make sure that you use that past to move forward. Make sure you move forward, both for ourselves and for our younger generations too. And in conclusion, you should understand that every United States is immigrants, full immigrants. No one is fully American. They're a group of immigrants that came together and established this nation. And they always had a conflict between older generation and younger generation, meaning older generation are afraid that we'll lose their heritage, that at some point that they will not know their children will not know who they were, who they are, and they're afraid that there will be a distance between them, because obviously our parents were raised by their parents and there was tradition that they followed and there's culture they followed that they're trying to make us follow too. But and also, like, this doesn't have to be, because you can maintain your heritage and your culture as well as learn this new culture, be an American at the same time you're Somali, that you don't have to lose that. I'm done.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So for our final panel speaker.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm here today to be talking to you about a topic that's near and dear to our hearts as the North American Somali community. I'm not in front of you because I'm an expert in the field that I'm trying to talk, but I'm here because I believe there is something I can add to the debate. What I was planning on doing was introducing the topic a little bit and then discuss where we as a Somali community in North America are in terms of adopting to our adopted countries. And then maybe suggest some practical approaches we can take to address those issues. But because of time and because we have been here all day, I will try to skip some of the stuff I planned. I have 3 pages of stuff. So, again, I still want to define what integration means and what assimilation means. So, people who study assimilation talk about adopting a culture that's not your own as your culture completely. And integration is slightly different. Integration is about sharing between the cultures. It's about respecting and learning from one another. So how does this affect us as Somalis in the West? And is assimilation an option for us? My friends, I don't believe assimilation is an option for us Somalis in the West because of many reasons that I will try to, inshallah, address some of those with you. For one, 2 cultures need to be compatible to be able to assimilate together. They have to have a common religious background, a common tradition, a common historical roots. So what we have in America are 2 cultures that are completely different. The culture that we are supposed to adopt or maybe assimilate to, but in the eyes of some people, is a Western culture, and ours is an Eastern culture. That culture has its roots in Christianity and Judaism, and our culture has its roots in Islam and the East. So we have got 2 different sets of value propositions on the table, and we are trying to mesh them together and say somehow you have to make it work. Well, it doesn't work that way. And I'm going to give you a simple example. In our culture, shyness is a trait that's viewed positively. It's respected, it's expected. It has its roots in our Islamic traditions. And our Prophet, peace be upon him, was once quoted to have said, all the prophets sent by God to mankind came with a message that promoted shyness as a value, or something to that effect. I don't want to misquote the hadith. So how does shyness fare in the Western culture? How is it viewed? Well, in America, at least, shyness is not something good. If you are shy, some people translate that you are not confident enough, or even worse, that you are not social enough. And that's a very simple example. There are many more examples that I can talk about. I don't have time for it, and I don't want to get into it. You guys understand where I'm taking the issue right now. So if we have that culture, does it mean that we have no place in America? No, I don't think so. Because, as Shadiyo pointed out, America is a land of immigrants. All these people here came at different points in time, and they contributed to the culture that we are supposedly expected to adopt. So when we think about the American culture, we have to ask ourselves, is there really an American culture? Or is it a culture that has components from many different cultures? So to me, integration is a viable option for Somalis in the West. We need to integrate to the American system. And the way I see it, there are many obstacles to effectively integrating to the American system, but I will address only 3 of those. So don't quote me as saying those are the only 3 issues we have. The 3 issues that I want to focus on today are language barrier. And when I say language barrier, I don't mean our young kids or our youth who are going through the American education system. Those guys are fine. They speak perfect English. But for us as a community to be fully integrated to the system, we need to have our older generation, older folks being part of our life. So for the majority of our older generation, they have a lot of difficulties with language. We need to think about ways to get them to learn the language because it's an essential component. And as a solution, I suggest we can work with the education institutions to develop tailor-made training materials specific to the needs of each group of the Somali diaspora. If we are talking about the young, they have got different skill levels, different aptitude for learning foreign languages. But if we are talking about different folks, we need the training and the teaching method to be different, and the Somalis need to be in the front and center of that effort. The second point I want to raise is our youth getting into trouble with laws, pursuing life of gang and crime and all the bad stuff we don't like to see, but unfortunately are coming up in the news. So why is that the case? I believe our youth have a shortage in role models, especially in our homes. And to be honest with you, if I don't see you doing, or if I think you can't do what you are asking me to do, then you are not fair to me. The kids need to have examples in the home or in the neighborhoods. So if they can't find a role model at home, then we as a community need to come together and start providing a support network based in the neighborhood to address those issues. Those kids need to see people of their own background who are successful and doing well. Moving on, because of time, to the third point I want to address, or the third problem as I see it, is in general our communities is struggling to understand the laws of the land. So to be effectively integrated as a community to the American system, we need to learn the laws of the land. We need to know our rights and responsibilities according to the US Constitution. We need to learn about the people we live with, their behavior, their value propositions, and we need to educate them as well. So once you have that, you can get involved in making decisions that affect your own life, whether it is electing officials to lead you, whether it is casting your votes. There are a multitude of things that we have in common, and that's what we need to focus. That's what I refer to as integration. I don't mean leaving your religion, leaving your culture behind to be a fully productive member of the society. So in conclusion, I would like to say I do not believe we need to change our culture in order to become productive members of society. After all, America is a mosaic of different cultures united by dynamic and flexible system of rules and regulations, as well as mutual respect among the different cultures and traditions. This, my friends, is what makes America a great nation. This is what makes America different from the rest of the world. And we need to understand that and take that on board as we try to make a living out of our stay here. We are here for the long term. Don't kid yourselves that you're going back anytime soon. So I would like to say Somalis have a lot of good stuff in them. Our culture is great. We have a lot of positive stuff going on, but we have some negatives that we need to cut out. And I say, finally, we are too good a community not to be integrated to the American system of life. And thank you.
Thank you so much. So this is a good time for our dialogue and our question and answer. And to kind of start the dialogue going, I'll ask my first question to the panel. There's a lot of things that we can learn from the American culture and about democracy, since they've done it for many years and they're doing it successfully. And there's a peace for transfer from one administration to the next without wars or issues, and you know the lights are going to go on tomorrow. But we are a culture that's full of benefits too. So what do you think our youth, our culture, can teach the American people? Because we know what we can learn from them, but what can we teach them? Because it's not all about assimilation, integration, which is what we need to do, but also it's a two-way street. So,
That's a very good question. You need to know what is good about your culture before you can even start talking about teaching your culture about to other people. The Somali culture is full of good stuff that we can share with our American counterparts. Specifically, we are known for our generosity. We are known for being good neighbors. We are known for being innovative, even if we don't know anything. Somalis are very successful business people. So those guys need to understand that we are not a bunch of system-dependent individuals that are good for fighting and killing people. So that's something we need to focus on.
Just to add to that is that also that there are, if we actually focus on something, that you better believe that we can accomplish beyond our expectations. That just not because you see few people who have that lack of intelligence, maybe not intelligence, I should not say that, but a lack of involvement in themselves, but also they have them in them to be a motivated person, to be self-worth. They are aware of all of that, and they can learn from all of those people that focus. That's one thing we have, and motivation, we can get that too.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن شاء الله يعني إخواننا يعني as he said, brother Hussein, the issue of I mean what we can teach American people comes from the background that we come from. I mean we are Muslims, right? We are Muslims, and we are even in Columbus, Ohio now. I remember that they say that I mean Somalis when they came, subhanallah, yani, the people in Columbus, the Muslim community in Columbus, they couldn't even wear the hijab. I mean, the courage that you can find from the sister, I mean, Muslim women, and also Muslim men. I mean, most of our guys, mashallah, and they're doing well, but sisters especially, mashallah, they're very proud of their identity and who they are. And that's really what can we be proud of as Somali community, and also, I mean, if you do that way, you should get respect from them. They will respect if they see you that you're committed to your culture, that you're committed to your way of life. They will respect you, and that's really what we teach them, inshallah. What we need to teach them, and also if you cannot integrate in the society, we cannot teach them. Also, I mean, the point is that also we can be also active in the community at large, not only the Somali community, but also at large. We have to be productive and be active in the community level, inshallah ta'ala.
now to the online audience, are there any questions? Okay.
Can each of you give a brief example of the benefits you've noticed in your own lives when you're integrated?
We'll start it this way.
Can you repeat the question, please, for the
For the audience? Okay. What was the question again?
Can each of you give a brief example of benefits you've noticed in your own lives when you integrated?
Can each of you give an example on your own lives that you've benefited when you've integrated?
I mean, I can say that sometimes I mean, by the time that I was born in Mogadishu, and subhanallah, and if I can tell you that I was active in even Mogadishu, you may not believe in me, because maybe you may think that Mogadishu, I mean, how can somebody be active in Mogadishu? Ahmed Salat, who is here, and myself, we used to run youth clubs in Mogadishu. I mean, activism is something that you can learn in the early life, in your early life, in the early stage of your life, and it depends on who you can associate with. I mean, if the people that you are associating with are active, and they can encourage you to push you forward to be active in the society, whether you are here, whether you are in Africa, wherever you are, it depends on who you are associating with. And that's really what can take you somewhere, inshallah ta'ala, in the future. But it depends on how you can see the people that are surrounding you. Are they just sitting down and doing nothing? Or are they just active people that you are trying to be with, trying to emulate with always, that you can follow them, that they are your target. So if you see somebody who's in the community who's doing nothing, and if you are surrounded with them, that's really, I mean, that's really dead. That's dead. So we have to engage in the people that are active in the community, whether they are Somalis or non-Somalis. Especially, I mean, I really encourage my brothers and sisters be in the mainstream Muslims who are really having the message of Islam also in heart, because we are Muslim. I mean, as Mass, I'm talking about now in my experience in Mass, the people that I associate with are not Somali. I mean, most are not Somali. I mean, they are some other members in the community, and that's really giving me strength of having that kind of power, that I can think, I can change something, I can do something different in society, not only in my community, my Somali community, but also a large community in the mainstream.
Oh, I forgot the question. Oh, well, there's a lot, and I'll try to sum it in one sentence. First of all, that I was not this outspoken when I was in Pakistan or even back home. But basically, I didn't know my views, my opinion, and how far I can go. I wasn't against anything. I just didn't have opinion of anything. But coming here, I came to know my self-worth and who I am and what I can do. And that helped me to have a future, to plan my future, and basically force my opinion out, speak what I believe in, make sure my principles and my motivation is heard, that people should not force me to accept their beliefs, that they should not force me to give me their opinion, but I always try to force mine on them.
Well, that's a tough question. I grant you that, but there are many things that you notice when you feel like you have integrated enough to the system. And the most important one being knowing where to go when you are faced with a situation. Who do you need to talk to? What kind of resource you need? All that information is available through your process of integration. But a tangible thing that I get out of integrating into the American system is professional development. As a student in North America, you need networks of support. You need networking with other professional people. And in the state I came from, and the university I was going to, there were no Somalis aside from my own siblings going to the same university. So you can understand how tough it is to get a job, especially in the current economy. And by the time I was graduating, I got my BS degree in '09, and the well-established people were losing jobs. So you can envision how tough it was for a brand new student to get a job that was tough to get. But I got it because of my contacts, because of the relationship I built with those people outside, and they were non-Somalis. And one more thing, nobody now asks me about Friday anymore. When I leave work early to pray khutbah, everybody in my company knows where I am. When I pray in the company premises, everybody knows what I'm doing. So that's the benefit of integration. You don't have to leave your culture, your norms, to be integrated to the system. You can be a productive member, and people will respect you for keeping your identity. And I emphasize, people will respect you more by keeping your identity. Thank you.
And to kind of add to that, working in a professional area, is that Ramadan is coming, and it's amazing how your coworkers are rooting you, and like they know the time the sun sets, so they know that you're like, oh, you're going home to eat now. Like, it's amazing the support that you get, and it's amazing how they're supportive, and it's amazing how once they get to know you and get to know your culture, how supportive they are, and how, you know, you feel that solidarity at the office. It really is true. They really are, like, bosses for me have moved like outgoings, like things have been moved around so they know that I can't eat, so they're like, no, Huda, it's Ramadan, we got to move this around, we got to do this. It's amazing. It's amazing how adaptable they become to our culture, because they know that we've integrated and we've adapted, you know, we respect their culture. Oh yeah, for the food, that's true. And everybody knows for the food as well, being in a professional where the office is, where if there's, you know, ham in the morning or something, they always know like to bring in vegetarian for you, or they'll tell you right away, no, there's pork in this lasagna. It's truly amazing. It just, with a little bit of knowledge, how, you know, they can adapt, and it doesn't, you know, there's a lot of vegetarians, there's a lot of people with allergies, so it's not unnormal for them to have food specifications. So truly, that is, it's amazing. It's amazing. Companies are so wonderful to us. Another question online or online? Okay.
When do you know that you were integrated as a foreigner?
The question is, when do you know that you were integrated as a foreigner? All right. Oh, okay. You'll take that. There you go.
Well, I noticed that when I start trying to tell people about who I am and why I'm not going to change. That's when I noticed that I was somehow integrating, because I never knew. I was brought up. Oh, follow on that, okay. What I mean was that because I wear this scarf, it's not because my religion forced me to. It's because I chose to wear this scarf and to dress this way. That's one thing. And also, not another way that I choose not to change was that I forced myself, that I set myself certain principles and certain guidance that I force myself to follow. That no matter what happens, no matter what challenges I go through, that I must follow those, because not because my parents told me to, not because other people tells me to, but because I did it for myself. Yeah. Exactly. Freedom of expression. Exactly. Constitution.
I'll look at it from a different perspective, because it really depends on who you are, how prepared you are to integrate to the American society, and your language and educational skills. Because literally there are people who are coming from outside, and day one they are integrated to the society. Why? Because they know about America, they know about their history, so they understand what it means to be in America. I happen to be one of those. I used to read American books when I was studying English. I used to listen to VOA in Africa as a young man, because they had a great English teaching program on air. So day one, when I came in, I got my first job 19 days in the country at the airport as a cashier. And day one, when I hired, it was Friday. And my manager was supposed to pick me up at the gate, give me my badge right there, and I have to meet her. So I called in, said there's no way I'm going to meet her at 3 p.m. Actually at 1 p.m. because I have to pray khutbah. And that's day one. I don't even have a job yet. I'm from Africa, I'm brand new, so I may not be familiar with the basics, but what I knew was there is no legitimized way of what is called treating you differently based on your religion. Yes, that's what I knew going in, even when I was in Africa. So I told her right away, I'm straight up, I'm honest, I'm telling you where I am, and from now on, if you want me to work on Friday, I will come either after khutbah or before khutbah, and I will get off at 12. And she was okay with it. It took my manager to meet me a month into my job. So you know you are integrated to the system when people around you don't act differently when you do something that's not common among them. So that's a good way, I guess, to summarize. People will give you a signal when you are a regular Joe.
I just want to also add, sometimes even you may have some other challenges also, which are maybe sometimes you try to integrate. And as we say it now, we're saying now to integrate in the system and be productive person in the community, in the society. You may face that also sometimes. I mean, there are people who are pushing you back, who are trying to isolate you, to make you someone who is, alien or someone who is not part of the system. So that's really maybe some challenge that you may face in real life, and to confront that also, we have to. Okay, now it's okay. I think I was holding bad. So the challenge is that we have to, tell those people who are trying to isolate us that we are part of the system, and you cannot isolate us. And at the same time, we have to be better about who we are. We are Muslims, and we are part of the system, and nobody can differentiate us from the rest of society, because everybody is equal here. So that's why you may see some people who are trying to push you back and say that these Muslims, and especially that they may use that kind of terminology that they are not part of the system, they are not part of our country, even though we are naturalized, or we were born here, some of us, or most of us are young. At the same time, you may have this kind of problem with the people who may have some mentality against the Muslim community, or maybe against Somalis, maybe. So I don't want to generalize, but this is maybe sometimes a challenge that you may face. But we have to integrate in the system without worrying about these challenges that may come from, and reject those challenges also with our vision, and that we are thinking that we are part of the system always.
Question from the audience? Oh, no question. Any questions from online?
If you see any risks for the youth in misunderstanding the meaning of integration, and what does being American/Somali mean?
So give it to me in pieces, because that's a long one. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so I don't have to repeat. Okay, perfect.
Do you see any risks for the youth in misunderstanding the meaning of integration, and what does being American/Somali mean to them, to you?
What was the first part of the question?
Risks for the youth in misunderstanding the meaning of integration. Misunderstanding the meaning of integration.
Which youth are you talking about? As in being a foreigner, or other Americans and Somali youth? Okay. Well, first of all, since I'm Somali youth, I'll take it from my perspective. Basic misunderstanding things we have is that sometimes there's confusion on how far of integration we can go. Meaning that how far can we change ourselves? How far can we adapt to this American culture? Meaning, basically, for example, having our own views other than from our parents. Meaning that telling our parents what we think and how we think. Meaning, as a woman, speaking up for ourselves. And that's like some misunderstanding that sometimes I go through, because I don't understand. Sometimes I get confused on how far I could go and how far I could push myself and other people around me. Did that answer the question? Yeah. And the second part was? What does being Somali American mean? Yes. Well, Somali being American. Okay. Well, to me, it means taking advantage of the opportunities I have and try to adapt whatever life throws at me. I don't know.
Well, the question is a little bit not clear. But what I would say is this. Every one of us gets into misunderstanding other things at one point or another. So that's not an issue, really. The issue is, what is an integration, and what does it mean to be a Somali American? So if I take the latter part of the question, Somali American to me is an American who happens to be or has roots in Somalia. That's all it means, and that's what I would like you to take from this. When you think about Somali American, think about Italian American, English American, Irish American, or African American. It has nothing else to it. As far as integration, integration in what? Integration means, first you have to know there are things that are common to all people, that people have to work together on things of common interest. And there are individual stuff like religion, social dynamics specific to a specific community. And you have to differentiate those two issues. If it's a common issue, that's what you need to integrate to. You have to put your ideas and actions toward that and be fully participative of that. In terms of individual stuff, you have to understand that America is not a homogeneous country, and it wasn't meant to be one. America is built and is strong because of the different people, different ways of thinking, different religious backgrounds, and different experiences of its inhabitants. And no one can claim to be more American than the other, including the white people that somehow think of themselves as their land because they came from Europe, just like we came from Africa. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, the basic answer for this question is really simple, and if you see somebody who's not understanding well about the term of integration, you have to correct him, and you have to teach him about the correct way of integration in society, and that's really what we talked about in our remarks. And I said, as I said in my talks, in my little talk in the presentation, I mean, if you are Somali, I mean, you are living in this country, and you are American, Somali American, and that makes you someone who is part of this country, and that means that you have to be active in the society that you're living in, without leaving or dropping out your own way of life and your own, I mean, your culture that you come from, and that culture sometimes we are also try to, I mean, we mean about the religious package that we have. I mean, we are Muslims, and we have our own way of life without melting in the society by losing our faith and by losing our own identity as Muslim or as Somali American. So Somaliness and Americanness, I mean, can go together. As I said before, they complement one another. We are Somali, and at the same time we are American, and we are Somali because, I mean, I'm a naturalized person. My passport says I am originally from Somalia. So that's my passport says. And if you are born here, also you are known as someone his parents are from Somalia originally. So you are known as somebody who's connected to Somalia. So in that case, I mean, you cannot disattach yourself from being a Somali. So you can be a Somali and you can be American. And also, integration doesn't mean that you are melting in the society by losing your tradition and faith and culture.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? All right, well, thank you so much to our panels. Please give them a warm, warm thank you, and thank you so much. So this concludes our day one. We've had a lot of great discussions. We had a great workshop regarding leadership and how to organize people. We've heard a great deal about how to be a productive American citizen, a productive member of society. We're going to combine the two debates, the one debate that was meant for today, into tomorrow. So please, fan us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Somali Diaspora Youth. We'll start at 10 o'clock tomorrow. There'll be more discussions, more lively debates, and we will definitely continue this conversation. And the conversation doesn't end here. We have many reasons to follow it up with the people that are here and online as well. So please take advantage of this. And thanks to all the speakers and to all of our workshop people today. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.